I think we're live, but there we go. We're live. What the Pel is up, everybody? This is Pelicans Plus with Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter. Make sure before we get started, you leave that rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube, and I am receiving a call that I'm going to ignore right now. And like us on Facebook, etc., wherever you're at. Make sure that you drop the like and comment as well. And check us out on all of our YouTube socials.
What's up and welcome back. Pro Pels Talk. We're here, baby. Justin Apley here, representing Pro Pels Talk. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for everybody watching on YouTube. One thing, if you are in the stream, make sure to go to our YouTube pages because now Periscope doesn't allow, Periscope and StreamYard have like broken up. So they don't allow us to bring on your questions, right? So like if we wanted to do
From
that.
Twitter.
So right, if you're on Twitter.
It's very annoying.
Right? It's so stupid. So if you can, I'm about to tweet out the YouTube link. Join us there, and then we can pull up your questions that you have for Elliot and myself. So what's up, Elliot? Let's talk.
Whatever. Yeah, you can do it on Facebook too, on Pelicans Plus Facebook or Boot Crew Media Facebook. Yeah, man. The media presser, media day, whatever today. Lots to take away. That tweet that I put out of Zion talking about how much he loves New Orleans and such has since blown up over 500 favorites. I think last time I checked, over 35,000 views. Chris Herring, the NBA lead writer from Sports Illustrated, retweeted it.
Beast.
And yeah, that has helped pretty significantly. And that's the big thing that I think everybody's taken away from this conference as a press or media day, as opposed to the freaking fact that Zion broke his foot and had surgery.
Can we dive in?
Go for it. Go.
There? So first off, a couple questions here. You know, I worry about Zion and a broken foot, right? Of course, everyone does. He's a heavy dude. He relies on his athletic ability, his jumping ability, all that different kind of stuff. So, I'm a little worried about that. But Elliot, I wanted to dive into this because I know Zion is kind of, he's to himself, and Brandon Ingram said today in the press conference, it's to himself, and that's fine, everything like that. But it's Zion Williamson, who I know has shown up to a USC football game and was at Duke camp for a couple days as well, tweeting that out. So I'm just curious on how they all just held it in together, which was interesting. But not to point out, this is a serious injury, obviously surgery and things like that, and something that we're going to have to monitor moving forward. But Elliot, I want to hear your thoughts. David Griffin kind of just brought it up, just like, oh yeah, this is like, oh yeah, he broke his foot in the summer. What would you think of that?
I think, at this point it's tough to gauge where Griff was trying to go because he's such a showman, right?
Right.
He's such I'm smarter than you, and that's the way it is. And I'm going to tell you that I'm smarter than you by way of condescending tone. And so to just, and for, when Zion had that other injury where he broke his finger, he blamed it on the league, blamed it on officiating. And in this circumstance, he was just kind of like, yeah, he broke his finger, broke his foot. We'll be all right. Happened in summer league. And it's I don't know if it's because he wants to start this season with positivity. I don't know if he wants to have, I think what he wants is the narrative to not be Zion hurt himself because he was working out by himself. They don't want the emphasis to be on him being by himself as opposed to the injury. So that would be my takeaway. That would be my thoughts initially. But I mean, Griff is such a weird guy and tries to shape narratives himself that could be very wrong. I could be very wrong.
Here's the thing that I'm worried about, Elliot, right? Is it was very, I'm hopeful he makes it to opening day, and like he's not gonna have training camp. And I just feel like that, him sitting out practice and training camp, and then also preseason games, like there's no doubt in my mind 110% he'll be on a minute restriction like he was. Who knows about the burst, because God knows, forget about that. So, and also, Zion needs some ramp up time. How is he going to be ready by opening day? Am I off on that?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I mean, that, and we don't know the exact timeline of the injury because it wasn't reported.
Exactly.
So the timeline could be wrong. They told us summer league is when it happened, when he was working out by himself. And he said that he was going so hard and had such a chip on his shoulder. And like, I want to believe that. I don't know it to be true. He's just a big dude, and it could have happened just doing, whatever. I don't think he slipped and fell in the shower and tore his Achilles like John Wall did, but um, you know, I hope that the optimistic timeline is correct. I think we all do. Obviously we want to
Right.
see Zion play basketball. We want to see him be in the rotation, be starting to learn under Willie and really start to figure out the chemistry with these new guys. But if I had to guess, I mean, Zion didn't look obese today. He did not look
No.
obese. He is bigger than he should be in terms of weight, in my opinion. I mean, I think I could tell. You can tell in his face when he has too much weight on, at least from what I can tell. But he needs to obviously play himself back into shape. And if he's not playing or practicing in training camp,
Then how can you do that?
that's not good. That's not good at all.
Right. So I see the Pelicans actually starting off the season again without Zion Williamson. Just talking through that because I guess next Monday is our first preseason. I mean, how much ramp? Like he needs ramp time. He needs ramp up time. We've seen this. We've already seen this before, Elliot. Okay, we've seen his rookie
There's
year.
no way it's going to be in bursts. I really don't think that'll be the case. Somebody asked the question. I think it was Andrew Lopez. If I think it was. Credit to Andrew. He does great work. But I really highly doubt that they do the bursts again because that was it was just incredibly mismanaged. You can blame the training staff. You can blame Alvin Gentry for that if you want to, just by how he handled it. He knew he had to do the bursts. But I don't think that's going to happen this time around. No. I think Willie's going to say like, this is not something we're going to do. And it's not going to be conducive to success. So why would we do it?
And we were talking about this off camera, Elliot, but Willie Green has a lot of power this year. Okay. He's got a lot of power. And what do I mean by that? I mean that David Griffin, he knows that if he fires Willie Green, that's his death sentence. Like Miss Benson's going to be like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
Willie Green now has power. So I know we talked about in the offseason that David Griffin likes his hands on everything. Well, this year, it's
literally everything.
Clearly, literally, including pianos. So what's crazy about this is that Willie Green is actually going to have a lot of power this year. So like, I think he can put people in his place early on and gain that respect from especially players and his coaching staff as well. But he will have a lot of power this year. So back to your point, what we were talking about is Zion Williamson burst. Willie Green doesn't have to sign off on that. If he's like, this kid's ready to go, if he makes his weight, if he's ready to roll, get Zion out there. Because at the end of the day, Elliot, we've talked about this. David Griffin can't have another losing season. It's out like, this is it. He's got so much smoke around him, but now he's got 2 losing seasons. He has this shit show with Zion Williamson, Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams, all this different kind of shit. Now he's got to start winning. So I don't know how long can you go without Zion Williamson, right?
Right. And I mean, obviously you got to be careful though, too. I mean, like his health is going to be priority. They have to be able to, I mean, like it just can't come from Griff. If Aaron Nelson said he's good, if Willie Green says he's good via practice, go with it, roll with it. Like don't let Griff determine that at all. Anybody in the front office.
And at some point, Elliot, you got to start playing to win. I mean, at what point do we just fully release Zion? I know he's got to get in shape. I completely agree. And I'm sure he's not in playing shape right now, especially after being off a broken foot. He's got to get in shape and he's got to play. It's just that simple. I'm so sick and tired of all the drama going on. Just start playing basketball. But I want to get to this point here, Elliot, is something that we've also talked about is how we were so excited to see that Christian Clark, David Griffin interaction. Christian Clark gets 0 questions to David Griffin.
Yep. I'm not surprised by that at all.
I was disappointed because I wanted to see it. I think we all deserve to see it because Zion, and credit to Fletcher Mackle, who I'm pretty hard on, but Fletcher Mackle actually challenged Zion today. I thought he was great with his questions. And then that's when the tweet you had.
Yeah. Fletcher did a great job. And just to backtrack to Christian not asking a question to Griff, that was 100% calculated. That Christian asks questions to everybody in every single media session, so 100% calculated. I thought it was childish, for being honest. It was a very clear indication that Griff is trying to mold the narrative like he always does, and in reference to him and Fletcher asking these questions, And I mean, the media asked him if the piano thing was true and if what song he played. And they clearly got together before the press conference and determined what they were going to say.
Yep.
I've had people,
Scripted.
obviously, that clip of Zion's blowing up. There are people and other things, people who listen to our podcasts saying, well, Zion and Griff said it's not true. So how do you know it's not a fake story? Well, fucking first of all, it's Christian Clark. The dude does incredible work. And this is not something that Christian would have taken lightly. There's got to be multiple sources on everything. This dude is plugged in with this organization. This is not a fake story. They're like the team narrative versus media narrative. Media's job is to find the truth and to share it with the public. And the organization's job is to shut it down and make it not a story. And that's what today was. It was not Christian Clark making up a story for views. That is not what Christian Clark does.
It was very scripted. First off, shout out to Christian Clark, because it was an amazing article. And Elliot, I'm okay with sharing this, but we've both heard that story is actually, in fact, true. Okay.
Yep.
You can't just, it's really hard to make up that story. Right? There's a million ways you can go with a made up story. The piano.
What do you get from that? Like,
right. So listen, I'm over it. Right. We're over the piano fiasco. We're over Zion and Griffin. To your point, Elliot, it is the organization's job to shut it down, in which they did. And you know what? I'm okay with it, because now we can start talking about basketball. Yep. And the next guy that followed David Griffin was Willie Green. And I was extremely impressed about Willie Green. Elliot, I tweeted this out throughout the entire press conference. You just heard players. You just heard players saying he's a player's coach. He's a player's coach. He gives me confidence. Player, confident. That's what you want to hear from your leader, especially a head coach, first year kind of guy. These guys are already clicking with Willie. They worked out with him in Summer League. They worked out with him in Nashville, and they're all extremely eager and excited to start playing for him.
Their relationship with him is not okay. It's they're building it. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And even the players that haven't been in contact with him much, Jonas, Zion said it himself. He hasn't talked to him a whole lot, but I mean, Willie made an impression on these players like he's made on us in the media as well. He just has this demeanor to him. It's like, that guy's a coach, man. That guy is a coach. And I've referenced this, I think, on my own podcast. And then I've been on a few radio shows where I had a coach in high school that was this way. That, I mean, he doesn't have any kids. And I texted him this Father's Day and told him Happy Father's Day. And, because I loved it. I mean, he's a great dude, incredible influence, but I also respected him to say, hey, I'm going to do what you need me to do. Yep. And that's the aura that Willie Green brings to the table. A lot of coach speak today, which is totally fine. Yeah. Totally fine. And I think that, I can't remember who it was. I think it was the guy from the Fox affiliate in New Orleans, asked him about, is there any possibility that you get fiery? What does that look like? And Willie was like, I like to be a calm, steady, consistent presence, but I'll freak out if I need to, kind of thing. I love that. That was a great answer.
That's why I love podcasting with you, Elliot, because I already have the quote pulled up, because I actually tweeted it out. And Willie Green, this is one of my favorite comments of the day. Willie Green, I stay calm, and that exemplifies steadiness for our group. The more calm I can stay, the more steady I can stay. Our group feels that and gives them confidence. That's what it's all about. That's literally what it's all about. Staying calm, players coach. Now, a lot of people could say, well, Alvin Gentry was a players coach. Alvin Gentry didn't really give a shit about defense. Willie Green, on the other hand, I thought Willie Green talked about a great little point today of how we want to lead, how we want to be a really good offensive rebounding team. They said they did research on stats and things like that and noticed that the better you are offensive rebounding, clearly, the more attempts you get, the more shots you get, the more points you get. So they're going to emphasize offensive rebounding this year. And, when you got Trey Murphy, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a lot of long athletic guys, you should one, be able to gang rebound defensively, and two, really kill them all on the offensive boards.
And Zion is a terror on the offensive boards too. He will rip you apart and just get after that ball. Not so much on the defensive boards, but he will offensively. And that's one of my favorite part about Zion. It's just bounce right back to it, So I thought he made some excellent points on that end too. They said they hadn't really gotten too much into the offense other than like basics, which is fine. I mean, it was off season workouts and they're just trying to get to know each other and work. One thing that I really gleaned from Willie and that was talked about for a large part of the rest of media day was Brandon Ingram's leadership. And obviously Griff made reference to it too and kept saying words like profound and just because he's Griff. But what do you think of that, Justin? Do you think it's legit? Because we heard about BI's leadership last year. Obviously SVG is a guy who just kind of takes over circumstances, like the Dwight Howard podcast that he did with Gilbert Arenas. He's like, you're not letting Dwight be a leader. Well, he's not a leader. Well, you don't let him be a leader. Are we actually going to see BI step into that role this year and lead this team?
But one, I'm glad you asked this because we've been pretty harsh on Brandon Ingram. And listen, he's one of my, as you know me, you've been following me since day one. He's one of my favorite people. Like not only off the court, but like on the court. I love the way he plays. I love his demeanor. But defensively, he has to get better. And he, once again, I know in his exit interview after Gentry got fired, he said, I want to try and get better defensively. Well, you saw that in the first couple of games that Brandon was giving some effort. And then clearly SVG and BI got... Go ahead.
Some of his defensive rotations in those first few games were like, where the fuck did that come from?
And we saw that and we're like, damn, like BI's like defensively getting better. Then clearly something happened between SVG and BI. He quits on his boss. End of story, whatever. Well, now he's saying it again this year. He said it again. Defensively, I gotta get better. I gotta get better. Hopefully my effort will trickle down the rest of the roster so that everyone plays defense and all this different kind of stuff. If he doesn't play defense this year, then you gotta go. Listen, I don't think you have to be. I'm not asking him to be all NBA, but I'm sick. If he wants to be a leader, he wants to be a max paid player. He has to bring it on both sides of the ball because all I hear is, well, we're tired of losing. We want to win. Well, then show me you want to win. I'm not saying you got to be, listen, I'm not saying that you have to be, Marcus Smart on ball defender. You got to be average.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
was just going to say.
Both him and Zion.
Has to be average. That's it. That's all he has to do. The exact quote was pretty solid. And anytime Brandon Ingram mentions defense in the offseason, you have to quote him and put it on Twitter. That's just what you got to do. He said, let's see here. He worked on his defense specifically this offseason. I want to have a better presence. I'm hoping that trickles down to everyone else on the team. I'm hoping that we will make that our identity this year, I think is what I meant to say in that quote. But I had a typo in there. But, I hope that's their identity too, because they're going to be able to put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah,
it's just about, again, I mean, they should be top 8 in terms of offense. When you got Zion, BI, Jonas Valanciunas, who's running with those second units, and possibly Devontae Graham with those second units, and with some of the starters, they're going to put the ball in the hoop. If they are dead average and 15th in defense, they're going to be top 8 in offense.
To your point, Elliot, before we talk defense, you mentioned a good point that you have a lot of scorers, right? They're going to score the ball. And what I think what's different than last year, right, is a lot of people came at me saying, well, and I've said this before in your podcast, well, look at the numbers. They're 8th in pace and 8th in rating. But it was two players scoring, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, and they're both like top 10 offensive in that offensive category. This year, to your point, Elliot, I think you're going to see more of a system built around BI and Zion with more off-ball movement. Yes, when they want to run, they're going to run. When they want to slow it down, make it half court, they can make it that. So I'm really excited to see Willie Green and the offensive strategies they implement, because I think you're going to see a lot of what Golden State and Phoenix ran as well.
Speaking of which, Willie talked about Brandon Ingram getting into the post this year. And if BI matches up with guards, he's going to eat all day down there. It's
fadeaway 15-footers all the time. I mean, we all know his mid-range is exceptional. He's just got it. It's offensively, it's nice. That's not the problem. Defensively, he's too long, athletic, and quick enough to be this bad defensively. It's all right here, and it's like in your heart. You got to be able to grind it out defensively. I want to ask you this, though. This is my last question. I'll jump off, though. What did you think of Jackson Hayes and Nikhil Alexander-Walker? Because Jackson seemed very... Listen, I know he's had a hell of a summer, but he seemed very mellow, maybe, I don't know, intimidated, maybe... I'm not going to say embarrassed, but I don't know. He had to talk about that. And then, of course, Nikhil Alexander-Walker can light up a room. But I want to hear more of your thoughts on Jackson Hayes.
For Jackson, he's just kind of been this way in a lot of his media availability,
A
and
lot
even in
more
like,
smiles though. Like he's
yeah,
more smiley.
yeah. I mean, touche. Um, it just wasn't there today. And it might just have been one of those days too. And media day is supposed to be fun,
Right.
so yeah. I guess I didn't read too much into it. I've watched some recent interviews of his just to see. I mean, I don't know how I ended up doing that, but I did. And a lot of them are kind of that demeanor where he's just
Yeah.
straight shooting, and he will occasionally crack a joke, but it's not like it's every interview or anything like that.
Because he's a big player moving forward here for this year.
Oh
He's
yeah.
got to be. Listen, I love Billy, and I'm a big Billy Hustle guy, but there's no way Billy Hustle should be playing in front of Jax. Jack's got to take that second, behind backing up JV and things like that. So,
Yeah.
big year
In
for
terms
him.
of
But
Nah, I thought
yeah,
Nah was great today.
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he can light up a room like you said, and he got to speak to what he worked on this offseason. Apparently, working with Canada basketball was huge for him too in terms of his development and where he's going. And I mean, I think we all knew that the international play is really important. And he said that the game has slowed down for him a lot, and that's really good to hear because his shot selection is clearly not very good at times these last 2 years. But yeah, what did you have any takeaways from Nah?
Oh, geez, I love him. But show me on the court. I want to see him take the next leap. I think everybody that's joining us in this room, all of our listeners, everything like that, they all want to see it. They want to see the leap, the MIP, all that different kind of stuff. But you know it, Elliot. You've been a fan of his for a while now, but big year coming up for him. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is where he makes that next step. If he makes that next step, then you have something in him. But I'm excited. I'm just glad, Elliot. Before I got to sign off, I'm just glad that we're talking about basketball now. We're talking about rotations. We're talking about strategies. We're talking about what Willie Green's going to be doing, not doing. It's just basketball time now. So I'm jacked up about it. Obviously, I'm glad that I'm sure me and you will be doing a lot more of these in the future. So I got to sign off. My baby's starting to cry. So
okay. All right. For those of you who are, appreciate you, Justin.
Good talking to you. I'll text you later.
All right. Sounds good. And I'm going to stick around for the remainder of the episode, probably go another 5 to 10 minutes, probably closer to 30 minutes today in total. But hey, it's funny because Justin just brought up the fact that we're going to be talking about basketball. And we got to touch on it a little bit there, but I really wanted to dive into Zion's comments today in terms of that video, like I mentioned. If you missed the presser, if you missed media day and Zion's time with the media, you can find it on my Twitter super easily. It's on my YouTube, it's on my TikTok, it's on Pelicans Plus Facebook page. I put that video everywhere. It's got probably close to 600 favorites at this point in time and 35,000 views. So definitely a video that has caught fire on Twitter. And it's Zion saying that he loves New Orleans and he wants to be here. And the narrative that people are running with is he's clearly lying, is what people are saying, and that he wants to go to New York and that he overdid it in terms of his response. And I could see where people are coming from. And I mean, that's the fun narrative to go with in the media now, and with just general NBA fans. And a lot of the saying is, this is the same thing Anthony Davis said. Well, to say it for the 100th time and to beat a dead horse, this is not Anthony Davis. Zion Williamson is not Anthony Davis. The same front office isn't around. Same coaching staff is around. Different players are around. And Zion Williamson is a completely different person than Anthony Davis. And I am not reading into this at all. He said it to the media. He could have just completely ignored it. He could have pulled a James Harden and said, I didn't want to be here, but he was not going to do that. And that's good. I mean, Zion's a great kid. He's a great man. He's incredible in front of the camera. And I think that ultimately the idea that he is for sure leaving is kind of ridiculous. He could leave. He could sign that qualifying offer and leave. And I could be wrong, but the idea that he's for sure leaving is just beyond stupid to me. And I just have to put that out there. And we don't know what's going to come from the rest of the season. We don't know how it's going to go, how many games they're going to win, if Willie Green turns out or not. But to me, Zion is more than he's more than capable of making the decision himself. And from what Justin and I have heard, Zion likes New Orleans and he's happy to be around. And sure, there's some internal issues and stuff like that, but Zion is around for the long haul as far as I can tell. And he's excited to be a Pelican. So that's what I'm running with. And on top of that, to get the little fire back that I had that I was talking about. The idea that that article is incorrect is hilarious. Christian Clark is an incredible writer, and he deserves his respect. So I will leave it at that. And you might be able to tell I'm in a little bit different of a setting. I'm in a cabin in Minnesota, and I also didn't reference our sponsor, Hornitos Tequila. It's official tequila of Boot Crew Media and Pelicans Plus. A couple other things that I wanted to reference today. Garrett Temple is clearly a leader on this roster. Clearly. Garrett Temple went to LSU, for those of you who don't know. He's from Louisiana. Was asked if he ever thought he'd play in New Orleans, and he said the timing was right. Decided to join the team this time around, and that couldn't have been better. Couldn't have been better from Garrett Temple today. I thought he was absolutely incredible, and he's, in reference to some of the things we've said about Willie Green, Garrett Temple stepped up to the mic and commanded the room for 10 minutes. He did. That's a leader right there. That's a guy who encouraged Na to lead team dinners because he saw the leadership in Na. He said he was a guy, he was clearly the elder statesman in Tennessee when he was there and working out with the rest of the team. And because the other guys had only been in the league like 4 years max. And he has clearly taken a role that he's excited to be in terms of leadership, in terms of being a veteran presence, and he wants it. This isn't... It's something that I've really criticized the Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe editions for is they're veterans, so we expect them to be leaders, right? Just come in and be leaders because you're a veteran, you've been in the league for a few years. Well, Garrett Temple clearly wants to be that. He clearly wants to be that. Devontae Graham has been that. Jonas Valanciunas, to a degree, more exemplary in terms of play and how he conducts himself rather than being a vocal leader. But Jonas Valanciunas has done that. Devontae Graham and Garrett Temple and Brandon Ingram are going to lead this franchise this coming year. And depending on what we continue to see from Zion, he may well do that too. But the thing is, I said, the leadership is theoretical, but this is truly sincere, something that's happened before. And not only is Garrett Temple stepping into that role, he's bringing along Tomas Satoransky. And he's clearly cultivated trust with Na and some of these other young guys when they were working out in Tennessee. And I love that. Doesn't matter how much Garrett Temple plays. Not even a little bit. This is a guy who steps into the locker room with 10 plus years of experience in the league. If I'm remembering correctly, I'll have to look it up. But he is going to be vital to what this team does. He's excited to be back in his home state. He's been in the league since 2009, 2010. But this is a guy that is an incredibly underrated addition to this roster for a lot of reasons. But leadership is the main one. And he's going to help a lot defensively as well. And now there weren't a ton of other things that I took away necessarily from today's media day. We talked about Jackson Hayes, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Brandon Ingram, and of course, David Griffin. And, there's obviously a lot of optimism to what's coming up with this year. Just got a message from Jamal Amiri Hamed, who's on YouTube, and said, "Does Zion's foot surgery reveal bother you?" Sorry, took me a second to read that right. If you could elaborate on the question, Jamal, that'd be awesome. I'm not really quite sure what you're asking, but like how it was revealed, or just the fact that it was revealed in general. And we talked about this a little bit ago with Justin. It's concerning. We don't know when he's going to be back, whether it's going to be, around the start of the season or even later, because when it wasn't reported when it supposedly happened in around the summer league in July. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks to recover from an injury like this. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure how that's going to shake out. But ultimately, from today, we were kind of expecting some drama, and we didn't really get it. Obviously, the concern is Zion's injury, and we were talking about that article, and that really never came up. But the question is, does he seem brittle to you? I mean, he's not walking around in a boot. That's a positive. And he was excited to be there today. So I would say no. I think he'll be all right. Ultimately, it's not going to be the end of the world to have it all happen. And like you said, Jamal, he supposedly broke it playing basketball. So, you know, he did get the surgery. This is something where he'll be able to rehab and come back. And I think he'll be fine ultimately. As to when, that is the concerning thing, because we don't know when it exactly happened. We don't know for sure. We know what we were told. We don't know if it was true or not. So anyway, this is a combination of Pro Pels Talk and Pelicans Plus today. This last 10 or so minutes was just me, Elliot Clough. This will be up on Pelicans Plus on the YouTube page as a podcast, etc. tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about Media Day and preseason games coming up in a week from today. A week from today? I think. Soon. I don't know. Soon. So very excited about that. And you can continue to stay here with us. Follow us along on Twitter at ProPels Talk and at Elliot Clough on Twitter. Make sure you leave that rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, like, drop a comment. What do you think about what's going on with Zion and the injury and Media Day and all the narratives that are out there right now? Like Jamal did, drop that comment and let us know, and continue to follow along with us as we progress throughout the season. So for Justin Napoli at Pro Pels Talk and myself, I am Elliot Clough at Elliot Clough on Twitter, and this was Pelicans Plus.